Welcome back to WebCertain TV. I'm Gemma Houghton. Today I'm joined by Charlie Williams, who's the SEO manager at Screaming Frog, and we're going to talk about SEO for e-commerce websites. Hi Charlie, thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Pleasure. So what do you think are the biggest challenges for SEOs working on e-commerce websites?
That's a good question. There's a couple of major challenges we often see at Screaming Frog. One is being able to get links to a specific category or product pages. It's not a very natural thing for people to want to talk about on their sites, or to share via social media. And often, which is something I'm going to talk about today, which is actually producing content for those particular e-commerce pages, your product pages, your category pages, things like that.
Okay, so firstly taking the linking side of things, what are some of the tactics maybe then you can employ in order to try and boost that side of things and make that more appealing for people to link to?
So one of the things I think that works particularly well is producing excellent guidance content, sort of talking around your product or service, what to, sort of helping people understand why they should be doing it, sort of thinking one step back in the buying cycle, if you will. And then from that you can internally link to specific product or category pages, and that's a great way of boosting authority that way. And then when it comes to linking to the specific products or category pages, you've got to do something on them to stand out, to make it stand out from the crowd a little bit, look a little bit more interesting, and it's not always easy, so you've got to find some kind of hook that way.
So with the content, obviously that's a great way to attract people, and that's also, I guess, a great way to get links in some respects if you're providing something useful or beneficial. So what are the steps you should take to determine which content's going to work well, what content's going to appeal to that audience?
So I think a really great way of thinking about it is doing some user journeys around your keyword research. So you've done your keywords for your different parts of the buying cycle, the purchase ones, the analysis and comparison ones, and even the kind of awareness stage where people first work out they've got a problem, what they're trying to solve. So from those initial stages of the buying cycle, you can then map out the intent of what someone's trying to achieve, because that's what Google's trying to do, is when someone searches something, they're trying to work out what their intent is and show
what they really want.
Exactly, the right kind of content that matches that. So you've got to think the same way. And if you know that somebody is looking for help on how to paint a wall, for example, what's the right way to go about it, then you can provide content that supports that, and then link that obviously to your painting pages and so on.
So that's a great kind of thing to think about, but obviously for many e-commerce sites they have a lot of pages and a lot of products. So how do you also determine where to focus, because the chances are you can't create that kind of content for every product that you have?
Very true, unless you're a massive retailer with a big team, it's very resource intensive. I think a great way to think about it is to look at is prioritization. What are the most important categories? If you're a website that sells 20 different categories of product, which ones are most important to you right now, and then which ones do you think there's the most natural area where you can help people? Not all your products or services are going to be as interesting or have as many avenues for doing longer form introductory content as other ones, so pick and choose your favorites.
And is that the only option with content, really? Is it to do kind of these longer kind of how-to articles, or how this will benefit you articles, those kind of pieces, or are the other kind of content that you can do that perhaps doesn't require quite so much effort but still brings value?
I think on the product pages themselves you can do an awful lot. So don't just think about your product page as, here's a picture of the product, here's a price, and here's a big add to basket button. Let's colour test that as many times as we can do to get the most click-throughs. Within the product page itself, you look at the big retailers and pick the elephant in the room, which is Amazon. They have huge pages. It's full of information. They put their manufacturer description in, their own description in. They have on big products, reviews, like hundreds of reviews, hundreds of Q&As, questions being answered by other members of the public and so on. So you can produce masses of content for your product pages without having to do massive long-form guidance as well. But if you can do it via user-generated content, then you even get other people to do some of the work for you.
And how do you set that up to make that feasible? Obviously, that's you can create templates and manage that so that you don't actually have to do too much of the work yourself. But obviously the risk comes with that is if it's user-generated content, for example, you need to be monitoring what's been said and making sure that that's been checking. So how do you make, what are the best ways to automate that in an effective but careful way?
Sure. So for me, content strategy, so the discipline of managing how content is produced, not what you're going to produce. The actual discipline of content strategy is really important for e-commerce websites. If you're dealing with hundreds or thousands of pages, you've got to be really strict, really disciplined about how you go about making the new content, reviewing it, publishing it, everything like that. And when it comes to doing it for this amount of products, you've got to prioritize. So you'll pick your best sellers, your most important ones, your new products. If you're doing it, you come into a project and it's sort of been going for a while, don't try and do everything in one go. Start with the new products as they come out and then go back and do your best sellers and things like that. I think that's the key, is picking and choosing and then gradually scaling up as it becomes easier as you get used to it.
Yeah, so and very carefully planning ahead, what can we start with, how much can we do at first, and not trying to overdo it and then probably do it badly across the board.
Absolutely.
And then from kind of a more technical SEO perspective, when you've got so many pages, and for many sites, there's many products that are quite similar, they're going to have similar keywords, they're going to have similar descriptions. What are the things you can do to try and improve the crawlability of the site so that Google can really pick out the really key parts that are going to help it differentiate?
That's a really good question. I think it's your site structure, and understanding basically, almost having a whiteboard with the tree diagram of how your website looks. Your category, your product pages, subcategories, everything. That's really important. Have a really clear picture in your mind of how that looks, and then when you do regular crawling of a website, if you've got a large website with thousands of pages, you should be crawling it very regularly to make sure there's where you can see where the problems are starting to occur and things like that. So you keep on top of it. Things like Search Console gives you information, obviously, from Google, how they're crawling it, and Bing Webmaster Tools. That's all really helpful. But from your own perspective, be proactive and actually understand how everything works.
And what about the role of Schema, do you think, in e-commerce sites with the markups? How important is that, and how many sites are really using it well, do you think?
I don't think enough sites are using it well, to be honest with you. I think there's loads of people leaving a big opportunity on the table, so to speak, by not using Schema properly. There's more and more, I think, potential in the future for Google to be using, structured markup more, but also other people, how other technologies in the future interact with your website. The more you can speak machine, so to speak, and give them the information, I think the better. Why not do it? It's really simple. If you've got something like Google Tag Manager in place and things like that, marking up your content isn't that hard, so just go and do it. Yeah,
and it is a very logical way to think, especially like you say, with the kind of more machine learning, the more automation, by actually just being able to say this goes there, this fits into this category, this is what this relates to. It really kind of makes it a lot easier for not just the search engines, but also I guess the users, because they'll become more accustomed to that and they can see straight away, oh right, it's got this on it, it's related to this category, and you're of course trying to appeal to both of those. Yeah,
definitely. As you get more and more rich snippets and more sort of things like the rise of voice search and personal assistance. If sometimes people might be asking, instead of searching on the computer, they're searching on their speaker, and you want to make sure you're that top result because they're only going to give you one. And if marking up's going to help it do that, I guess the way I put it to clients is, you can do it, so why leave it to chance? Why leave it for Google to interpret what the different bits of your product page are about? Just tell them straight up.
What are the most important things that business should be doing almost to future-proof? Because we're seeing, so much changing. We're seeing the fact that, there's a lot more advancements and a lot more kind of maturity in the ability of the search engines to pick out what's going on, and more machine learning. So what should e-commerce sites be doing now in order to make sure that they don't suddenly get left behind?
I think you need to invest in your ability to produce great content. And the reason I say that is, for me, I think that content on an e-commerce site is the equivalent of having staff in your store. It explains to people what this product's about, if it's right for them, why they should buy it. It does so many different things. So a lot of websites, e-commerce ones, just think, I don't have to invest in staff, so I don't have to invest in content in that kind of way.
Yeah, people know what they want and they're just going to buy it.
Exactly, but when it comes to SEO, you've got to give a reason for you to be ranked in the first place.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think actually being proactive and going, I want to build a great shopping experience, just as you would if you had a physical bricks and mortar store. Take as much pride in your content, and that will kind of stand you in the future. And then obviously things like, looking at Schema and considering new ways of, sort of, now we can crawl JavaScript websites and this kind of stuff. If that's the right kind of thing for you, you can start thinking about it. But at its core, how would you build a better shopping experience? As long as you focus on that, you're kind of future-proofing for everything else anyway.
Great. Well, some great tips there. Thanks so much for sharing it.
Thank you.
Thanks.